don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
I love my little cottage in the woods. Back behind my house, I don't know, 200 steps, is a cute little cottage that used to be the caretaker's cottage. And it's got stone walls and it's deep under a canopy of trees. And it's so private and so quiet. All you can hear are like wolves howling and turkeys waddling outside. And it is hot and muggy in Connecticut. My house, we got the AC blasting. Outside, soupy and gross. In my cottage, I don't even have an AC unit. You can see I'm wearing a sweater right now because under this canopy of trees within these stone walls, it is like perfectly temperature controlled. I don't even need an air conditioner. I love it out here. It's my cozy little getaway, my sanctuary, and of course where I work most days. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be with you guys. I had this whole thing to talk about summer camp, blah, blah, blah. But while I was kind of reviewing my notes and getting set to record with you guys, I have this client. Now, most of my clients, I do not give my personal number to. Most of my clients, I like to keep a professional distance, but I do have some clients that I've been with for years, right? I've been doing this for 20 years, and some of us, we go way back. And this particular client, we go back over a decade. I've done his apartment. I've done his corporate office. He owns this big company. And so I've done his whole office, and then he just got a new apartment and I'm doing his new apartment. I'm doing his new office, which is 6,000 square feet. So I've worked with him a lot, and he used to be my husband's boss. So we go way back in a lot of different ways. And anyway, he was texting me with an art question. So he was in Nantucket, living his best life, having a summer moment, and he wandered into an art shop and found a big blue and white kind of etching, if you will. And it was the tail of a whale. And it was like actual life size or something. It was really cool looking, and it was huge, as you can imagine. So this really big navy blue etching, and the background is navy blue, and kind of the etching is the white, almost as if the blue was scraped away to reveal the white, and it happened to be in the shape of a whale tail. I like it, but the thing I like even more is that my client likes it. It is so hard to find art that resonates with you. It's hard for anyone, but particularly if you don't consider yourself an art appreciator, particularly if you don't really care about interior design or don't feel aesthetically inclined, it can be even harder to have a connection. This guy has money. He can buy any piece he wants, and I can recommend pieces all day, but they won't have a connection to him. And so to find something that does speak to you, to find something that deeply resonates and that you're excited about, well, it's so rare. And if you have the money, seize it. So he was in this shop, he was in Nantucket where he has another home, and he felt the spirit move him and he wanted this piece. Well, I'm excited for him, and it's a great size that we can use in his apartment right now. He got the print. But as I warned him, I said, buy that print, I love it. But when you're getting such a large print, really any print, but when you're getting such a large piece framed, you have to be very careful. And I want you to pick the right thing, not only because it's a huge commitment financially to frame something so large, but also because it's really going to impact how we see the piece. Now, I've explained this piece to you guys. I've explained that it's white and navy blue. So his space is kind of a more masculine space. It has touches of brass because that's what was architecturally in the metal finishes in terms of the cabinet pulls, the bathroom fixtures, the faucets, the hinges, everything's brass in his apartment. I wanted to make it a little bit more, I hate gendered terms, but let's just say masculine. I wanted to tone down the gold and kind of balance it with something a little bit darker, a little bit more imposing. And he doesn't like the brass. So I really wanted it to almost overshadow the brass or work well, but start dominating the brass a little bit. So I've combined these metals. He also had a pre-existing wood bar that he was really excited to reuse. That's a walnut wood. In my mind, because he's going to have white walls, there's only really two ways to go with this frame. I would either go with a black or even a wrought iron, but I'm more inclined to go with a walnut wood. I just think the walnut wood would warm up the blue and really make the piece more complex, and of course tie in with the bar that he's going to take with him to any number of apartments. But like I said, black could also work. But the blue is a cool color, that navy blue. It's also a dark color, and black is cool and dark. So are we doing anything complex? Are we doing anything balanced? Not really. Now, I'm not opposed. Some of you are thinking, Betsy, why didn't you choose white? I'm not opposed to white, but I'd want to make a more modern statement, or I'd want the wall color to not be white. I hate white on white on white. White frame, white background of the print, white paint, because none of them actually look white. One will look more creamy, one will look more blue. When you stack your whites on top of each other and they didn't come from one can of paint, you're not going to get the same white. They're not going to age the same way too, and the place where he wants to put it is right by a window. So the frame might fade and yellow more quickly than the paper, or certainly the paint. Anyway, I don't care for white on white and white usually. And then the other direction we could have gone is like leaning into the brass and doing like a warm gold. But he wanted less of that. And I actually think taking this kind of earthy subject matter of a whale and putting it in gold is kind of contradictory to the theme. Like, it's such an earthy, grounded, nature-focused piece that having a nature-focused wood frame just, I think, harmonizes well, versus the gold, which feels very madmen, or not madmen, feels very man-made and opulent and kind of contrary to that seafarer vibe. I feel confident that we should do the walnut, and I'm going to let him know as much. And if he goes in a different direction, because he does go rogue sometimes, if he goes in a different direction, I'm going to say, I told you so. But he's open to my suggestions, and I'm grateful for that. There we go. All right, let's get into it because I have questions in the mailbag. I have lots of things to discuss with you. And did you guys watch what dropped this weekend? Gilded Age is back. I love Gilded Age. Now, guys, you don't have to be interested in the characters or the history or the plot lines. You watch it for the opulence. You watch it for the interiors. You watch it for the colors and the fabrics and the hats. This is why you watch Gilded Age, and I hope you're watching with me. I have lots to say. Okay, before we get there, mailbag, reaching in, pulling out a question. Can't wait to talk about it. It's coming from Shelly, all the way from Chihuahua. She doesn't say the state. Hold on, let me Google it. I could have Googled this ahead of time, but Chihuahua is suddenly interesting me. I must know. Washington. Okay. I do not know if I'm saying Chihuahua right, but it's from Washington and it means water snake or garter snake. Good to know. And it looks beautiful from what just got pulled up on Google. Oh my gosh, the mountains, the tall pine trees. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, back to the question. Shelly writes, Hi, Betsy. I've been listening to your podcast for years and I love your book. I would love your advice on flooring for our circa 1980s home. We live in the mountains of the Pacific Northwest and our house is cedar-sided and fits in our landscape nicely. I would like to move the decorating towards relaxed mountain lodge, taking some inspiration from the Grand National Park's lodges without it becoming too themey. My question is regarding updating our flooring on the main floor. Right now, it's a combo of rusty colored ceramic tile in the mudroom, hallway and entryway, dining area, and kitchen. Then you step down into the living room, which has hardwood flooring on the perimeter and inset wool carpeting that is very 80s bluey green. I'd like to remove the carpeting and floor the entire level with the same material. There's a lot of wood going on, but I think it suits the house, so we're considering just going with hardwood throughout. Another option I'm thinking of is smooth gray slate, such as Brazilian black. We have soapstone kitchen counters and a sink, so I think that might jive. Or maybe you have ideas for me for a totally different flooring material. I have a million other questions for you, like should I do anything with the windows? How to arrange the living room with the corner wood of the stove? How should we remove the oak entertainment unit? Would you recommend that we do? Do you recommend a sectional sofa? And a zillion more. But thank you so much for your time, Shelley. You have a lot of questions, Shelley. And the good news is I have a lot of airtime. I'm recording all summer long, no break. So you send those questions in as you're ready to start implementing the solutions. And for now, let's talk about the floors. Before we get into it, I want to paint the picture for everyone listening of this space because it is very unique. Now, you mentioned that you want your two-word phrase to be relaxed mountain lodge. I'm going to tell you this already screams mountain lodge with its architecture. Sometimes, I'm trying to think if there's ever a time when this isn't true. Sometimes when an architecture is so dominating, we don't need to use it in our two-word phrase because it's already happening. It's not anything that we need to try harder for, and it's also not anything that we want more of because it's already oppressively happening in the space. Now, by oppressively, I mean you were worried about this feeling like a theme room, and the theme is happening hardcore. For those of you listening, let me describe. So inside, it's almost got like an A-frame structure with a big vaulted ceiling and huge windows that overlook these beautiful trees. In the corner, there is that black wood-burning stove that's kind of surrounded by brick, kind of that red brick, but it looks like it's got some black bricks and some off-white bricks mixed in. As we go around the room, the ceiling happens to be wood paneling with lots of beautiful knots and lots of character. There's a big beam on the ceiling. And then we've got this kind of vaulted thing happening on the other side where we have a loft space. So the loft space has a wooden ladder and a wooden support post in addition to this big dark beam. And then below it, we've got the kitchen, we've got the entryway, in addition to all these woods, because the ceiling wood is a different tone than the beam wood, is a different tone than the trim wood. And then we've got a built-in in the living area that's a lighter toned wood than the aforementioned woods, which are darker. In the kitchen area, we've got a sort of window seat, it looks like, that's even a different tone of wood. There's a lot of tones of medium to dark wood. So I do agree that there's a problem here in terms of so much wood. But the other thing that I worry about is that it's cold in the Pacific Northwest. I worry doing too much stone flooring could be cold and cold looking and cold feeling, even though I love the idea of it balancing out the room. So if this could be like radiant heat with stone floors, I would be in love. But I'm very temperature sensitive. You might not be. But I like the idea of grounding this space and introducing a new material with the slate. Now, my question, which maybe you've answered in your note, let me check again. I can't figure out if you're wanting to replace the tile. The thing I have with the tile is that it is a warm terracotta color. The wood is warm and a similarly kind of brown color. So it's exacerbating the problem. I would love in the kitchen, in the entryway, for you to do that slate, because I think the dark contrast that's not at all brown, not at all warm, would really help this space. For the main area, I'm torn. Just at this one glimpse, I see 4 different wood tones, and it's a lot going on. I hate the idea of introducing more wood, But for the flooring in the main area, I'm just worried that slate will feel cold and unapproachable unless we do a lot of very large area rugs because it is a very big open space. I think the slate would really elevate it though. Now, the question is, you may have been asking me just about the slate in the kitchen, or you may be wanting to keep those terracotta tiles. I was not sure, but definitely slate in the kitchen is my opinion. My question is, do we continue the slate in this area? I'm trying to elevate this space because sometimes these kinds of spaces, these kinds of rustic, older spaces can feel. I'm worried about your relaxed word. They already feel relaxed. They already feel a little worn, a little shabby, a little natural, a little rough hewn. And I want to bring a level of sophistication in here. You know that we like our two-word phrases. The first is the style word, the second is the feeling word. You can reverse it like you have here and do relaxed first. That's fine. But we've already got the mountain lodge happening in a very large dose. There's no way you can deny it. I think you should nix it. Mountain Lodge is already kind of relaxed, and the fact that this feels relaxed and a little dated, I want words that are going to elevate this space and still capture what you want to do, but not be redundant of what's overwhelming in the architecture. We actually don't need more Mountain Lodge in here. It's hitting us over the head, and you're going to get into theme room territory. I want to see you think a little bit more sophisticated. I know based on this email, you have no plans to resell anytime soon. I wish you would approach it from a resale point of view because I want you to elevate yourself past how you're currently using the space. I want you to elevate yourself past how you currently know the space and think, how could I get top dollar? How could I appeal to other people? How could I really create a clean, interesting, vibrant, fresh space? And you will be the one who reaps the rewards versus the buyer. But I think you didn't tell me how long you've lived in the space, but based on this question and based on your phrasing, I feel like you've been here a while. And I feel like the space is dominating you. And I feel like you're unable to see it with fresh eyes. There I go again, using that word, but I think fresh and sophisticated needs to be here because we need to counteract what's happening in the space, which is dated, overly relaxed, and overly Mountain Lodge. Did that answer your question about the flooring? Absolutely not. Did it help give you some direction? Yes. The other thing I'm going to insist is don't bring any more wood in here. I see you have wood end tables, wood coffee tables. Even your armchairs are framed with wood. The last thing this space needs is more wood. You've got a wood upright piano. You've got a wood curio cabinet. You've got a wooden dining buffet. Oh my Lord. We don't need any more wood in here. No. So again, think about feng shui, think about balancing the elements and introducing new elements, whether they be stone, fabric, water, right? In terms of mirrors and glass, we need this space to feel more balanced. Okay, I'm avoiding your question. Oh, what do I think? I'm tempted to do this slate. I think it would really elevate the space and be so, so cool. I also think the darkness of the ceiling would help with having a darker floor. You asked me about the floor, but I want to give you a different answer. I think I would consider painting this ceiling. I think it's dominating. I think the beam is already doing the trick. I might consider painting this ceiling and keeping the floor the wood tone. So I'm open to slate if you don't want to paint the ceiling. I'm open to wood if you don't want to paint the ceiling, but you've got to do a lot of large throw rugs. And then I'm open to you painting the ceiling and doing wood. 3 answers. There's 3 answers. I don't think you're going to go wrong. But before you make other changes in this space, I want you to really consider this full episode. Not necessarily the Gilded Age stuff, but the rest of the stuff, because I think there's more that needs to be noodled out, Shelley. Maybe even before you rate me again, get a handle on sort of what we've been talking about. I think it will lead you to some answers to your other questions, and certainly it will help me to guide you better when you have a revamped 2 or 3 word phrase. All right, guys, the moment we've all been waiting for, me to break down Gilded Age. Now, my husband is like, he wasn't able to watch it on Sunday when it dropped. And I said, husband, we've got to watch it together on Sunday because I know there's going to be spoilers in my algo. I know that on Facebook, on Instagram, I am going to see what happens and I need to be watching this live. And he said, what? Nobody watches Gilded Age. He's like, in my algorithm, I never see anything about it. I didn't even know a new season was coming. Nobody's watching. Nobody cares. You will not see spoilers. Spoiler alert, I did see spoilers. But that's all to say you might not even be watching HBO Max's Gilded Age. And that would be a mistake in my book, guys. You've got to tune in because this is phenomenal. Phenomenal TV. Now, the plots, whatever, the acting, sometimes, they used a lot of New York theater actors. And I go to Broadway at least twice a month. I've seen all these actors. I know these actors. I revere these actors. I just saw Audra McDonald in Gypsy on Broadway, and she was transformational, a powerhouse, so moving. I mean, it's rare that I cry during a Broadway show. I was captivated by a part of her performance, the Roses Turn section. I started to cry. She's not good in Gilded Age. She brings all that energy. You have to be so much bigger on stage for your reactions and your expressions to read in the back of the house. On TV, I can see all your expressions, 6 inches away. And these theater actors, it feels over the top. It feels campy. It feels overly dramatic. It feels fake in a lot of ways because their expressions are so large because they're coming from this other background. There are a few actors from the stage who are doing it brilliantly here, but I find that for the most part, the stage actors are not working out for me. Yeah. They're just too bold and silly, and it does look cheese-tastic a lot of times. Especially because it's a period piece. So they're already saying things that we're not quite familiar with or, we're not hearing every day. So when you see it with like this crazy strained mug, it's just like, what's going on? Okay, so there's that. Let's get into the storylines. I think that one of the very interesting storylines is that Agnes Van Ryn, who was a matriarch and had a ton of money, her son made a bad investment and all their money was squandered. Meanwhile, she was living with her sister, Ada Brooke, and Ada had been living with them sort of off of her goodwill as a charitable thing. Agnes Van Ryn was allowing her sister to live with them, and it was very nice, and Ada was living off of that charity and kind of doing her own thing, but not really bringing in a lot of revenue. All of a sudden, Agnes gets married, and she gets married to this wonderful actor. Can't remember his name because he's not in this season. Spoiler alert, he dies. He was so fun, too. I've seen him in lots of other stuff, and he was just really great. Anyway, he's dead now, and he left a fortune to Ada. Well, now she's still living with Agnes, but Agnes is the poor one, and she's the rich one. So it was quite interesting initially, but they beat it to death throughout this episode. Like every time they pan to these characters, it's like, she's got the money now. Who's calling the shots in this household? How could she have all the money? How do we have this flip in fortune? It, becomes a little repetitive after a while, but the thing that is not repetitive, the thing that allows me to listen to this same damn plotline over and over in the first 20 minutes is that they are wearing spectacular outfits. I mean, I am lost in the details of the toile, of the pleats, of the folds, of the ruffles, of the hats, of the feathers, of the felt. I'm not even a fashion person. Like, I'm not really big into clothes or hairstyles. These colors are so rich and fabulous. These interiors, so magical and historical. I mean, I love that they actually go to Newport and shoot on the lawns, shoot in the mansions. I love that they're in Westchester, shooting in Jay Gould's old mansion. I love New York City, as you guys know. So learning more about it from a historical sense versus like a Sex and the City sense is so delicious as well. I'm deeply invested in the neighborhoods. I know that the blocks that they're on and the museums that they're near and Central Park. And so it's bringing up all of that for me as well. So as I told my husband yesterday, am I hatching this show? Hatching or hatching is hate watching. Is that what I'm doing? Because the storylines are not captivating me, and yet I can't look away for even an instant, or I'll miss a beautiful detail. So, this old money versus newly acquired money is interesting. Then, of course, there's the old tropes of the mom doesn't want, there's this mom whose name is Bertha Russell, and she wants her child to marry somebody else who's got a higher standing, who actually happens to be a duke. The husband, George Russell, is totally open to who his daughter marries, and wants her to marry for love. But Bertha has got her sights on a particular suitor and will accept nothing less. And Bertha is kind of this powerhouse who has come up from, I don't know, lower means than she's achieved currently. And now she's basically the queen of New York. And she's very frustrated that her daughter won't let her pick from the cream of the crop and is instead reaching a little bit lower to somebody who's more below their level, but is still very high up in society. So is that interesting to me? Has that been done a zillion times? Yes, yes, yes. Watching the outfits. There's like this upstairs, downstairs that you've seen in Downton Abbey many times. The only problem with this upstairs, downstairs, where they're talking to the staff or we're seeing the staff's take on what's happening upstairs, is that the take is the same. Like, there's no new vantage point or no new idea being brought in by this different class of people. So, for instance, take the Ada and Agnes situation where the fortunes got flipped. Downstairs, all they're talking about is the fortunes are flipped. And who do we take our orders from now? Do we take our orders from Agnes, who we've been taking them from for 60 years? Or do we take them from Ada, who is the new mistress of the house? And so I wish that they brought a new perspective. I wish that downstairs had something different in terms of their assessment of what's going on upstairs. Maybe even new insights into these characters, like Ada, who was poor and has suddenly come into all this fortune. Has it changed who she is in a way that they can see or a way that they're impacted by? I would just love anything that's not more reiteration of the same damn themes. But you know what I really love about this show is that even though there are some very strong male characters, back in an age when women maybe didn't have that much power and where women were really oppressed in a lot of ways, there are so many strong female characters really driving this show, whether it's explicitly or in the underbelly, or whether that's just what they're choosing to spotlight in this particular season. But I like that throughout the seasons, that really it's a women heavy show. And this is during a not particularly, I mean to rephrase that, but whatever. Women weren't given a lot of importance always in this era. So I just think that that's fun. I asked ChatGPT to give me some talking points in case I was missing anything, because those are just sort of my organic thoughts. And then when I get a little petered out, I'm like, what does ChatGPT say? Oh my God. You know, the robots are not taking over yet, because ChatGPT, one of their talking points was feminism in a fishtail skirt. Are the women of the Gilded Age subverting the patriarchy or dressing it up in lace? Are you kidding me? In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was no subverting the patriarchy. The patriarchy was dominating. And yes, these women had lives and motivations and goals and aspirations, but there was a ceiling during this time that was unavoidable, and nobody is subverting the patriarchy on the Gilded Age. Like, let's be real. All right, guys. like I say, we're safe from robot takeover for another week because ChatGPT has lost its damn mind. I love talking to you guys, not just about design, but what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what I'm interested in. What are you interested in? Tell me. Head over to affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. Once again, that's affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. When you're there, you're going to see lots of things to do. You could watch old episodes. You could check out our YouTube. You can become a premium member and support the show. And you can submit your question, whether it's about pop culture or interior design. I want to read it. I want to talk about it. Send it in to affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. All right, everybody. Until next time. Bye. A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MVCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com. If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.